So Kal Kadosh Boker Tov, we're continuing with Daf Gimel Amud Aleph, 3A1. So if you just look at the bottom of Bet Amud Bet, the last line where it says Metve Marzutra. So Marzutra is going to come and he's going to ask a question from a Mishnan Kritut to do with the concept of that or is or Yom or nighttime. If you remember, we were speaking about that the entire day yesterday, whether the word or is daytime or nighttime. And here it says as follows on the Gimel Amud Aleph on the top. Hamapelet or lishmonim ve'echad. If a woman's going to come and she's going to miscarry on the or of shmonim ve'echad, which means after giving birth to a nekeva, so what's going to be the halacha? Now remember, after giving birth, a woman has 40 days and 80 days. 40 days for a male and 80 days for a woman. That's called dam tohar, which means after the first week of giving birth that she becomes tmea leida for a boy, or 2 weeks for a girl, for a female. She's got 33 days of dam tohar for a male and 66 days of dam tohar for a female, which comes out that obviously 7 and 33 is 40, 14 and 66 is going to be 80. So it's always double for the female, which means that this is what's going on over here. So it says here, what happens if a woman right now has a miscarriage on the or of the shmonim ve'echad, on the 81st day after female? So Bet Shammai says that she's going to be p'tura from a korban. Okay, so she's exempt from a korban. And Bet Hillel says you're going to be chayav a korban. So Amar lahen, Amru lahem Bet Hillel Bet Shammai, comes Bet Hillel and tells Bet Shammai, Maishna or shmonim ve'echad miyom shmonim ve'echad. What's the difference, the or shmonim ve'echad to the yom shmonim ve'echad, right? You guys also modeh, you guys admit that if she was mapilad, I mean, she did have a miscarriage on the 81st day, that she is obligated an extra korban, meaning she's already chayevet, a korban leida, because of her previous birth, meaning the fact that she already gave birth, she's obligated a korban. Here we're talking about an extra one. Im shivalo tum'ah, if it comes out that the night of the 81st day, right, is shaveh to the day of the 80th, right? So he comes over here and says that the 81st day. So he comes over here, lo yishvelo korban, shouldn't it be to korban as well? Which means if for tum'ah, it's the same halacha, so too for korban, it should be the same halacha. Why is it that you're going to tell me that she's going to be obligated an extra korban, even if she had the apala, even if she had the miscarriage at the nighttime? So from the fact that Bet Hillel came and he told Bet Shammai, Maishna or shmonim ve'echad miyom shmonim ve'echad, which means what's the difference from or shmonim ve'echad to yom shmonim ve'echad? Shma mina, we come to learn from here, or is ortahu. Or in itself is considered orta, it's considered nighttime. Shma mina, that's what we're actually coming and learning. Okay? So therefore from here we're actually bringing a proof from that or is considered nighttime. What's the proof? From the fact that he said or, and then he said yom, so obviously or means nighttime. So that's what the proof was. Again, this was all derech agav, just to bring down a proof that or is nighttime and not daytime, right? But again, the concept is that just like the Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel, there was a machloket over there, whether they were going to be patur from the korban or chayav another korban. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, Meitvei, we're going to ask a question from the Braita. Again, on the Shita of Rav Huna, that he says that or means day. Yachol yenechal or lishlishi, right? When you have a korban shlamim. So now what happens is that by a korban shlamim, it's written biyom zivchachem yachel mimachorat vanotar ad yom shelishi bayesh yisaref. It's written right during the day that you're going to eat it, and the next day, whatever's left over on the third day, you have to burn it, which means that it's only going to be eaten on the day that it was slaughtered and the next day. And every other basically when it comes to the third day, you're not allowed to do that. Okay? Until here we're clear? We actually say it.
Yes, clear.
Yeah, very good. We say like this, right? For those that say korbanot, right? It says over here, Shlamim Kadashim Kalim, Shechitatam Ba'chol Makom Ba'azara. Yeah, so the Shlamim and Kadashim Kalim, the Shechita is any place in Azara. And then it says like this, V'ne'echalim bechol ha'id lechol adam bechol ma'achal, lishnei yamim v'layla echad. So it's 2 days and 1 night. Le'avdil elef avdalot, it's like a hotel nowadays. They come and tell you, yeah, it's 4 days and 3 nights. What's the kavanah? The kavanah is very simple. You've got 2 day times, but it's only 1 night time in between. So the hotels are very smart. They tell you, listen, you go in at 4 o'clock, kilu, but zama, you've got the entire day. What the entire day? You came in 4 o'clock, you're almost, you're getting ready for sleeping already, yeah? Especially with some people, right? But then what happens? He tells you the next day is also a day. Why? Because you're there until 11. What until 11? 11 is considered a day. That's the concept that they do. It's a play on words. Right? Here, it's written you have 2 days and 1 night. Now, on the 3rd day, what are you supposed to do? You're going to burn it. So it comes here and it says, right? Maybe I could eat it on the or, which we have to understand what is or, obviously, of the 3rd day. So says the Gemara, Vedinu, we're going to make like a type of a binyan av, like a type of a kavachomer. It says like this, Zivachim, right? For example, the Todah is only eaten to 1 day, Nechalin Yom Echad, which means only on the same day that it was brought. Because it says, Biyom Korbano Yeachel, only the day that you brought it as a Korban, you're going to eat it. Ushlamim, Nechalin Lishnei Yamim. Shlamim, you get an extra day, right? It's a bogo, it's 2 for 1. So you get 1 extra day. Male halan laila achad yom, just like by zivachim, they're nechalin yom echad, and you could eat it also the nighttime after the day, right? So therefore it says here, afkan, so to here, laila achad yom, it should be the nighttime after day. And then it should be permitted on that night. Meaning not only should you be permitted for 2 days, the night after the 2 days, which is basically the 3rd night, but it's, right, it's the night after the 2 days, should be permitted. Tamulomar, no. Only if it's still daytime. But you cannot eat it until the 3rd day. So for example, today is what? Today's Tuesday. So if you brought it today, so you have Tuesday and Wednesday. You had the 1 night in between the Tuesday and the Wednesday, but the next night of Wednesday night, you cannot have it anymore. Why can you not have it anymore? Because if you're going to have it, that's already the night of the next one. That's the or l'shlishi. So this is actually a proof that what? That order here does not mean the day, because if he meant the day, that would mean the 3rd day. So obviously it's not day, so therefore it has to be the nighttime. So this is a proof that again, or means, which sipur? Yeah, we keep on bringing proofs that or is nighttime and not daytime. Okay? So nechal le'or shlishi. Okay? Very good. So now it says, yeah, by the way, this is the only time when we said the what? That the nighttime goes after the daytime and not the daytime goes after the nighttime. Right? What? What does it say there in Masechet Berachot? What does it say there in Masechet Berachot? Where do we see this concept in Masechet Berachot? What do we say there? Again in English, one more time.
I'm sorry, the night is the first. The day is coming after.
So therefore,
the first infinity is the night.
So therefore what?
Leave me, you continue. I will tell you.
He's on something. What do you guys say? We have your Gemara on it. Berachot. Everyone understood what we're saying now?
No, can you repeat, please?
Basically like this. We're saying that this is the exception to the rule, right? That usually we say that we always start with the nighttime and then the daytime, correct? In the Jewish calendar, everything, we always start at the night and then the daytime. Here you're saying the exact opposite. That nighttime, right, is after the daytime, not before the daytime. So who's the one that mentions this in Masechet Berachot?
Exception?
No, this concept. So we learned it in Tosafot. So Safot over there, Masechet Berachot says, why do we ask, right, that we should first learn the Shachrit first? Yeah, why should we learn the first the Shachrit? And he says, right? He says, because we know that by Shachrit, the Mitzvah Boker was written first. Why is the Mitzvah Boker written first? Because by Kodshim, it's exact opposite than Briat Olam. Meaning, by Briat Olam, we always go by night and then by day. By Kodshim, we go by day and then we go by night. Everyone understood?
Yeah, but that's not eventually what the rabbi agreed upon.
The what?
The Gemara eventually didn't agree with it.
So basically, you're saying that Birat Ha'olam is in the day?
No. By Briat Olam, we always start from night and then day. Vayi Erev, Vayi Boker. But to do with Kodshim, it's exact opposite. Where is this? Anything to do with Korbanot. Yeah.
No, again?
He wants to say that the day is first the day, then the night. It's one day.
No, but it's supposed to be night and day.
Yeah, this is in one concept.
Yeah, to do with Kriyat Shema, that was a maskana of the Gemara over there, but the Gemara was asking, what's the Havamina? So the Havamina is that at the end of the day, that just like by Kodshim, we do it this way. That's what it says over here. It says like this. The Gemara asks this question only in response to the second answer, but not to the first, because the verse regarding creation teaches a general rule regarding the night coming before the day. That's if the rule was the Tana was okay, long before the Kriyat Shema, should have followed the same rule explaining Kriyat Shema. We're fine. So he says over here, I thought he actually said it also here, Furash. Okay, fine. Okay, the meat of most sacrifices is eaten. There is over a time limit with some types of chatat, 2 days, and until midnight is actually permitted until dawn. No, that was until when are you actually allowed to eat it? Okay, fine.
So this is the exception here, what you learned in this Gemara, or is it not exception and that's how it is?
Thank you. Oh, just read it. Thank you. So the exception to the rule is to do with Kodshim. So Kodshim, the night goes after the day and not the day after the night. Okay? Fine.
Kodshim is a korban you give at night.
No, the opposite. Kodshim you give during the day, but you're allowed to eat it even during the nighttime. Meaning usually I would say the nighttime is the next day. No, to do with Kodshim, that nighttime is still part of that day. So therefore I'm allowed to eat it during the day and that night.
Not all korbanot.
That's what we're talking about, Korbanot.
I'm not telling you.
Huh?
But not all korbanot.
What do you mean not all Korbanot?
Some korbanot must be doing daylight, day. They cannot burn out.
Shnei yamim v'layla echad. That's only the shlamim.
Shlamim,
Fine, only the shlamim. But I'm saying all the other korbanot, anything korban which is eaten during the day, it's the day and that night afterwards.
Any korban.
Any korban. Yeah, 100%.
It's like brachot. In one day we are supposed to do 100 brachot. But one day.
No, but there's a whole question. When do we start the day? So usually we start from the night before.
No, really?
Yeah. Technically, it's going to be the same thing. Technically, it's going to be the same anyway, because it doesn't matter how you're doing it. You're always going to have to count at nighttime. Yeah. So there's not going to be really nafkamina whether you're going to count the night before or the night afterwards. The nafkamina would be is, let's say in the nighttime before you had a big seuda and you added a few brachot. That's only, you understand? But I'm saying, but other than that, it's the same mitzvah if you're just counting regular brachot.
So brachot you count from the night.
That's what I remember.
And the korbanot, it's from the morning, and it goes until the next.
Until the night, yes.
The same night or the next night?
We mean the same night. Until
6 o'clock in the morning, you make the korban.
This morning you did at 6 o'clock, so you have until basically either chatzot, because it's our chaka, or technically until dawn the next morning. So it's called the day and the full night. Okay? So it says again one more time. So it says, Zevachim nechalin yom echad, ushlamim nechalin shlo yamim. So it says, Afkan laila achar hayom. That means just like over there, right? That's what it says here. When it says lo yaniach mimeno boker, mashma sheboto laila adayin mutar lo ochlo. So Rashi says over here. Okay. That's what it says here. It's a Gemara Nechulin, Pei Gimel Amud Aleph. Sheken hi agdarat klalit bedine kochim. It's a agdarat klalit. It's a general rule by all of kochim. Shebahem alayla olech achar hayom, which means hayom balayla sheacharav is one day. That means you have the day, and then the night afterwards is considered one day. Benigud lerov dinei Torah, which is the opposite of the majority of the dinim of the Torah, that there we go after the day goes after the previous night, and they learn it from this. They learn it from the pasuk. Biyom korbano yachel lo yanich mimenu ad boker. So mimenu mashma shemizman hakrava the boker shacharav hu bichlal oto yom. So they learn. This is what we're just learning, but it's a Gemara in Chulin as well. Pei Gimel Amud Aleph. Okay, fine. So says the Gemara, Yachol, I would have thought to say Yisaref miyad, you should burn it immediately the same night. The dinu, when we're going to make binyanav zevachim nechalin yom v'layla echad, right? That korbanot are going to be eaten for one day and the night afterwards. Ushlamim nechalin nishnei yamim v'layla echad, and the shlamim is going to be eaten for 2 days and 1 night. Male halan, just like over there by the zevachim, techef la'achila srefa, right? Immediately, right after the achila, it's going to become the srefa. Afkan, so too here by the shlamim, it should be techef la'achila srefa. It should be immediately right after the achila. It should be srefa. Talmud Lomar comes to teach you, v'anotar mi besar hazevach b'yom shlishi b'esh yisaref, b'yom ata soref. V'yata sorfo b'layla. You only burn it during the daytime and not during the nighttime. Which means that even though what we just mentioned is that by a regular sacrifice, which is not eaten in 2 days, right? So all the other sacrifices which are going to be eaten in 1 day, so you have the day and then the night which doesn't precede it, but the night afterwards. By the shlamim, you have 2 days and 1 night. So since you have 2 days and 1 night, it's the full day, that 1 night, the full day, but then you're not allowed to eat it at night. So I would have thought that the second night, I would be able to burn it. Just like after on a regular day, when I have a regular day, night, so right after that night, when I cannot eat it anymore, I burn it. Comes to teach you know that you only burn it during the day and not during the night. So basically what happens is, today is Tuesday. So I brought a korban shlamim today. So I'm allowed to eat it Tuesday night, Wednesday night, I'm not allowed to eat anymore. But I don't burn it until Thursday morning. Capish? That's what he says. Because it suddenly says, "By Yom Shlishi, you're going to burn it, not beforehand." Okay. So says the Gemara, "By Yom Atasoref, Yata Sorfo Balayla." That's what we learn from the fact that it's written by Yom Shlishi by Shisaref. Right? You don't burn it during the nighttime. So midit ka'amar, from the fact that it said Yenechal or l'shlishi, afilu or tahu. So from the fact that we're going to say that, maybe I would have thought to say that you're going to come and eat it or l'shlishi. Obviously, or means nighttime, because by Yom HaShlishi, you have to burn it. You're not allowed to eat it. If it says that by Yom HaShlishi, I have to burn it, that means I'm not allowed to eat it. So if I have a havamina, that I'm allowed to come and I'm allowed to eat it, be'or of Yom HaShlishi, or cannot be meaning the day. If it means the day, I have to burn it. So obviously, or means nighttime. Shma mina, you're right. It's another proof. So this is another proof that or means nighttime. Okay? So we have already a few proofs. Another one, Tashema, another proof. Yeah, or shel Yom HaKippurim, on the or of Yom HaKippurim, mitpalel sheva umitvadeh. So a person is going to pray 7 brachot in the Amidah, and he's going to do vidui in the Amidah. B'shachrit mitpalel sheva, in shachrit he does 7, and again mitvadeh. B'musav mitpalel sheva, umitvadeh. B'mincha mitpalel sheva, umitvadeh. So in all the cases, you're going to do 7. Remember, right, that usually we always do either 18 or 19 brachot. Nowadays we do 19 brachot during the week, but it used to be 18. That's why it was called Shemona Esrei. They added in Birkat HaMimim, which made it 19. Then on Shabbatot and Yamim Tovim, how many do you pray? 7, right? Which why do you do 7? Some people say connected the 7 aliyot, but whatever. But on Yom Tov you don't have that. But what do you do 7? So you're going to have the first 3 and last 3, which is the first 3 of Shevach and the last three of Hoda'ah. And then you have the middle one, which is basically Zman. So on Shabbat, it's Mekadesh Shabbat. On Yom Tov, Mekadesh Yisrael v'Zemanim. Shabbat and Yom Tov, Mekadesh Shabbat v'Yisrael v'Zemanim. Okay, now, right, on Kippur, you're also going to have 7. Right, the exception to the rule that we have more than 7 is going to be Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, because of Rosh Hashanah, we have the Malchuyot, Zichron, Shofarot, so we add in, okay? But then we do 9. But other than that, we do 7. So it says over here, we're going to do 7 berachot, and we're going to do vidui. Shachrit 7 berachot, vidui. Musaf 7 berachot, vidui. Mincha 7 berachot, and vidui. Be'arvit mitpalel me'en shmona asar. Right, now it says over here, on Arvit of Motzei Kippur, we're going to come and we're going to do me'en shmona asar, which means that just like the rest of the year. Okay? Yeah, we're going to do just like the rest of the year. Okay, but it says here, however, though it's me'en shmona asar, because it's havinenu. You remember havinenu from berachot? That you do the short version, the one beracha that actually encompasses all the berachot. Okay? Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel omer, mishum avotav, yitpalel 18 shlemot. No, you don't. You do the full Amidah on Motzei Kippur, the full 18 berachot. Mipnei shetzarich lomar avdala b'chonen hadat, because you have to say avdala in chonen hadat. Okay? Alma, so you see from here, or is ortahu, is nighttime. Shma mina, and again, you have a good proof. Because here, how do we start off the Braita? Or shel yom kippurim mitpalel sheva umitvadeh, shachrit mitpalel des, and you continue going. So the fact that it said or, and then it said shachrit, obviously or means night. Tashema, another proof. Well, no, it's Arvit of Kippur. What do you mean before? Of Kippur. Kippur itself. Yeah, the night of Kippur itself. Tashema, we're going to bring another proof. The Tana Deve Shmuel that we learned in the Academy of Shmuel. Lele arba asar bodkin et chametz leor haner. On the night of the 14th, or again, it says right here, it says mefurash lele arba asar. They actually check the chametz leor haner. Alma or taut. So here you see that it's orta. Why? From the fact that it said or la arba asar bodkin, and then we have another Mishnah telling you mefurash that it's lele arba asar. So obviously it means nighttime. Okay, so now that we actually proven from different places, and especially from our Mishnah also, that or means nighttime, so it comes out that according to everybody, right, the explanation of or in our Mishnah is nighttime. And there's no machloka between them. Mor kiatre umor kiatre. Right? Each one was speaking according to minhag mekomo. Be'atre de Rav Huna karu naghe. Ube'atre de Rav Yehuda karu leile. Which happens that in our Mishnah, there's no machlok. Okay? Who? Rav Yehuda. I don't know. Yeah, it says over here, in the city of Rav Yehuda, okay, he called it Leile, which is night times. In the city of Rav Huna, they called it Naghe. They called it nighttime as Naghe. I don't think they were in Yerushalayim. I think they were both in Bavel. Okay? Okay, here it just says it's not Laila. Okay? So now we say like this. So Tana Didan, my Tama Lok Tani Lele. So our Tana, why is it that it's not written Lele, which means just saying something mufurash? Why are you coming and telling me a language that could be interpreted in a different way? So it says Lishna Ma'al Yehudinakat. He says it took a Lashon Nikiyah, a very nice language. Why? Like Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, like you should never come and take something not proper from your mouth. Because the Torah added, right, 8 letters, right, and it did not take something negative from its mouth. Why? Which means it says mina be'ema teora, and then it says mina be'ema asher enena teora, right? So now, instead of saying hatemea, that's 5 letters. What does the Torah say? Asher enena tehora, which is 13 letters. So 13 to 5 is 8. So therefore, the Torah wasted, or it's not saying wasted, but meaning it made it extra 8 letters to teach you that it's preferable to say, which it's not tahor, than coming to say that it's tameh. Capish? Yeah or not? Fine. So says the Gemara. It is. So here it says that 1 second, but many times in the Torah it does say tameh. Yeah. So he says over here that the Torah over here purposely changed just to teach you this. Okay. Fine. There's a chiskuni that technically Torah there is without the vav, so maybe it's not really 8. Okay, fine. There's a whole thing here. Fine. Rav Papa Amar. Rav Papa comes and he says, Teisha, it was 9 letters. Shneimar, but it says in the pasuk, Ki yevecha ish asher lo yeh tahor mikere laila. When you're going to have a person that is tameh, tameh is 3 letters. But instead of saying tameh, he said asher lo yeh tahor. So the fact that he says, right, so even if we're not going to have the vav of the tahor, again, you're going to have 9 letters here. So it comes out that you have 9 letters. Ravina comes and he says, no, it's 10 letters because the vav of tahor. So therefore, it's actually 10 letters. So you see from here that the Torah was adding, whether it's 8 letters, 9 letters, or even 10 letters, to show you the concept of what? Of that we're always adding, okay? In order that we should have a nice language. Rav Yaakov says, 16, even 16 letters. Why? Shneimar, but it says in Pasuk, Ki amar mikrehu bilti tahor ki lo tahor, which means he could have just said mikre tamehu, which is 10 letters. Instead of doing that, it said mikrehu bilti tahor hu ki lo tahor, which is 26 letters. So therefore the difference is 16 letters. Okay? Fine. Tanya Dever Rabbi Ishmael. We learned in the Academy of Rabbi Ishmael. Le'olam yisper adam milashon nekiya. A person should always speak in a very refined language, right? Why? It says Shareh bezav kirao merkav, because by the zav it's written a merkav. Ubi isha, that means a zav that he's seeing. It's a male that he's seeing the seminal discharge, so they call it a merkav, right? Everything that he's writing upon. Ubi isha, by a woman it's written moshav. Why? Because it's meguneh to mention merkav by a woman, because rechiva b'derech klal means that she's splitting her legs. So it's not nice to say that a woman splits her legs. That's the entire concept also by the horses and by thing. Right? How do women ride the horse? They don't split the legs. They go on the side because it's not proper of the concept of splitting the legs. So therefore he's saying over here, that's why it's changed and it wrote down moshav. Moshav is just sitting down. It's not merkav that she's actually riding. Ve'omer, and it says in the pasuk, v'tivchar leshon arumim. Pasuk in Yov says, that it says that the Arumim, which are the Chachamim, they have a Lashon Yuchedet, which means that they always use nice language. Ve'omer, and it says, V'dat sifatai barur milelo, which means that it's fitting to actually come and speak in a Lashon Nekiya Umvureret, and very, very clear. Mai ve'omer, what does it mean ve'omer? If you're going to tell me, Hanamila, one of these words, B'deoraita, only in Psukim of the Torah, that means that Kosh Baruch Hu was only Makpidim in the Torah, but the Rabbanan, they're not Makpidim. Tashema, we're going to bring a proof, that even the Chachamim are going to be doing that. One of these words, if it's on other things, law, they're not makpidim, which means even on anything. Meaning on anything that you're talking about, right, you're allowed to do this as well. Okay? So it says over here like this. So one more time. So it says now, Ubeisha lo ketid merkav. So asked the Gemara by a woman, it's not written merkav. So it's written by Rivka and her maids, narotea, vatirkavna. So says the Gemara, no. Hatam nishum biyatuta digmalim. There they were afraid because it was gimalim. So therefore, since it was gimalim, they were afraid that they were going to fall. So because of that, orchei, even a woman will sit like a rechiva, which means obviously, right, in order to grab onto the camel because she's afraid. Meaning, if it's talking about stam, whether it's horses or other animals, she wouldn't do rechiva, she would do moshav, right? But if once we're talking about now a camel, which is very tall, she's afraid that she would fall, so therefore that's what she does as well. So as the Gemara, it's written, right there, that Moshe Rabbeinu took his wife and children, and he put them on the chamor. So here it's mashma that the wife was also doing rechiva on the chamor. So answers the Gemara, hatam over there, mishum banav, it was because of the boys, so orchahu. That's why it's said like that, because of the boys, even though it didn't say that the woman, that the wife sat on the other side, meaning that she sat another way. Gimel Amubet, 3b. So ask the Gemara v'aktiv, and it's written, that she was riding on the chamor. So here it's written in Furash, in Shemuel, This is talking about Avigail, when she went to appease David Melech and to pray that he shouldn't kill her husband Naval. But at the end, do remember that he actually got married to Avigail, right? So it says over here, Hata mishum b'yotuta dilelia orcha. Again, it was nighttime. So once it's nighttime, even on the chamor, she's going to actually ride it normally. If you could answer another answer, mishum b'yotuta dilelia. There was not because of b'yotuta dilelia, but rather because of b'yotuta de David. She was fearful of David Melech. I mean, she thought she was going to, when she's going to find David, she's going to fall off the chamor, just like Rivka did, yeah? Right? So he said she was afraid. So therefore, that's why she did it. Another answer, it's not because of David, but because of the mountain. She was going on a mountain. So she was afraid that if she's not going to ride properly, right, she would actually come and she would fall off. So because of that, it was going to be problematic. So says the Gemara, in the Torah, it's not written tameh. That's what you're going to tell me. So he says, Ela kol heicha dechiyadadininu, right? Mishtay belashon nekiyah. Whenever you're going to put them together, then it's going to be using it nekiyah, kol heicha denefisha mile, right? But any place where it's going to be arichut, mishtay belashon kitzara, right? So basically like this. Any time when it's going to be the same, and you don't have to be ma'arich, so then it's always going to use a nicer lashon. Anytime that it's going to be that you do have to be marich, so then it's going to show the kitzara. It's going to tell you the shorter version. Okay, just like Ravuna Marav says, you should always teach to your students in a short version, which means that you shouldn't take too long. You shouldn't say too much. You should always cut it short, right, and not do it so long, right? He said what? Whenever it's the same, you're always going to be lashon kavod. Right? The word rochevet and yoshevet has the exact same amount of letters, and still it's going to tell you rochevet. So he says no, rochevet ktiv. It's written rochevet without the vav. So rochevet is even shorter than yoshevet. Okay. There were two students that were in front of Rav. One of them says shavitina hai shmata kedavar acher misankan. This shemua made us like a chazir, like a chazir, like a pig, ayef, that we were very tired. One of them said, Shavitina shmata kigdi misankan, like a gedi, like a kid. A gedi is a kid, which is like a child of a ram, right? So he says over here, kigdi ayef, of a goat. So he says, V'lo ishtay Rav bahari dayach, right? Since then onwards, the Rav did not speak to the first student. That means the fact that the first student went and he said, I became so tired because of this learning like a pig, he never spoke to him again. Why? Because the other one, he said the same thing, but he said like a pure animal. He didn't say like a pig. So therefore, he didn't speak to the first one at all. Okay? There were two Talmidim that they were in front of Hillel, and they learned Torah from him. One of them was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And some people say that it was the Talmidim in front of Rabbi. One of them was Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan was in front of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. One of them said, what is the reason why that when we're going to reap the grapes, okay, which means we're going to take down the grapes, why is it that we're makpidin that it has to be with kelim torim? But when we're going to be masikim zetim, that means by olives, we're not makpidim. By the grapes, where we have to make sure that the utensils are pure. But by olives, no. One of them said, so you see, that means the first one, he said, why is it that we're going to use tahara, ve'en moskin betahara? Remember, in Hebrew, in English, you usually use the same word. Reaping is reaping. By Hebrew, mosek is by zetim, right? Botzer is by zetim, right? Kotzer is by tivua. That means every single type of a food has a different type of a word for the same thing of basically taking it off the tree. So botzer, right, is by the anavim, right? Betzira. Mosek is by the zetim. Kotzer is by the reaping, by the tivua, by grains. Okay, so it says, one of them just said mefurash, why is it that we're going to be doing botzer betara, but moskim betuma? So Amar, he went and he said, muftach ani bazeh shemoreh ora b'Yisrael. Which means he went and he said, since this student, the first student, was makpid to always use a very refined language, I am certain That what? That he's going to become a Mureo Rabbi, he said. He's going to become a big rabbi. So here, it wasn't on the negative, because the previous story was the negative, that he went and he said, he stopped talking to him in Bichlal. Here, we're going on the positive concept, that he was certain that he was going to become a big rabbi. What? No, it doesn't say here who it was. So it says over here like this, right? No, it does say who it was. It says either Rabbi Yochanan or Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, whichever one it was. So it says, there were 3 Kohanim, okay, that each one had a small portion in Lechem HaPanim. Chad amar lehu, so one said to the other ones, Higiani kepol, I got like a bean size. Chad amar higiani kezait, I got like a kezait. Chad amar, one of them says, Higiani kezanava leta'ah. One of them says, I got like the tail of a leta'ah, like a lizard's tail. Okay? So he says over here, the fact that he used the lizard's tail, they looked into him and they found that he was a Kohen Pasul. Right? The fact that he actually did that. Okay? So that means Kohanim have to be very, very strict. Yeah? No profane language. It has to be language of kavod. Okay?
No jokes.
Yeah? Yeah? He says, right? We learned in the Mishnah. Again, I missed the joke. Yeah, he says over here, he says, we learned in a Mishnah to do with the chovah of checking into a woman, which means, that means basically the second that they were a Kohen, that's it, we don't have to look into it. Meaning if you have a girl that she's a Kohen, that the father and everything, the Kohanim, right? So then that's it, you don't have to look into anything. Why? Because you know that Kilu, that they already checked, that if they were serving on the Mizbeach, that they checked and he was a good person. So if you have this Kohen that he's eating from Lechem HaPanim, obviously it means that he was, so then why did they look in, like what's going on here? He should have been kosher. So it says, don't say that they found that he was a shemetz pasul, meaning in his genealogy. They saw a gasuta ruach, because gasuta ruach being haughty is pasul in keuna. So that means basically it says over here, because somebody that's gas ruach, it's mevazet hakodshim. And somebody that's mevazet hakodshim, or even one of the avudot, is not rawi l'shamesh. And therefore, this Kohen that's not Mikabel, right, basically, that means he's not fitting to be a Kohen. It's true. That means he had all the kosher genealogy. He was a Kohen, his father was a Kohen, his grandfather, and they were all kosher Kohanim. But the fact that he was a little bit, his nose up in the air, that was the Shachatz Pasul. Yeah, you could answer. Shanehatam, it was different over there. The Ihu Dara Nafsheh. He was, which one? According to this explanation, according to this answer, it was a pasul in his genealogy, but the difference was that he was the one that did it to himself. Meaning, if you have a Kohen that he's already serving in the Bet HaMikdash, and we once looked upon him, or that he was serving and he has a chazakat kashrut, so okay, fine, he's kosher. But if he now comes and he does something that now arouses our suspicions about him, and then we will look into him. That's what they did. The second that he did that, they looked into him because they started saying there's something wrong here. And then they did find that Be'emet was in the genealogy, according to this Vibai Tema. It was a Goy Aramai that he used to do Aliyah Regel, and he was eating Korban Pesach in Yerushalayim. Amar, so he once went and he said to Pam Rav Yehuda ben Metira, Ketiv, it's written by Korban Pesach, Kol ben Necha lo yochal bo, that anybody that's a Goy is not allowed to eat it. Tuktiv, it's written, Kol arel lo yochal bo, anybody that's an arel, right, is lo yochal bo. So he says over here as follows. Yeah, it says over here that what happened was when it says kol ben necha lo yochal bo, uchtiv, and it's written kol arel lo yochal bo. The ana and us hakachilna mishufre shufre. Here it comes out that we are actually eating.
LB.
Yeah.
LB, send me the phone number of.
So basically, what happened is that all of a sudden it says over here that I actually ate from the good parts of the Korban Pesach, even though that he's a goy and also an arel. That means he's coming and he's saying, listen, it's written in the Torah that a goy cannot eat from the Korban Pesach. It's written in the Torah that somebody that does not have a brit milah cannot eat from the Korban Pesach. And I'm eating from the best. Mishufre de shufre. You're eating the best of the best. Yeah, la creme de la creme. Yeah? So he says, Amale Rabbi Yehuda ben Metera. He says, Rabbi Yehuda ben Metera, Mi kasafu lach me'aliyah. What, did they give you from the aliyah? Did they give you from the fatty part of the tail? Right, which is the best part? Amale, he said, no. So they told him, okay, so when you go there, ask for it. Well, if you didn't taste the tail, you didn't taste anything. So when you go, ask for it. Kisalik, when he went up there, Amar lehu, he went and he told them, Me'alia safuli, right, did you give me from the aliyah? Amrule, they went and they said, 1 second, aliyah lagavoa salka. What does that mean? The aliyah goes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? It goes to Hashem. Amrule, they told him, Man amar lach achi, who told you to ask for the aliyah? Amar lehu, he told them, what, Rabbi Yehuda ben Metirah? Yeah, it was Rabbi Yehuda ben Metirah told me. Amru, they went and they said to each other, my haide kaman. Right, what is this? But kubatre, they looked into him, vashkechu daramahu, and then they found out that he was a goy. They katlu. So he went and he killed him. They killed him. They killed him. Why? Because they realized his trick. Meaning the guy came and he was tricking, and he comes and he starts saying, bragging. You see, I'm able to. Why didn't you get from the tail? It was a trap, and he fell for the trap. Yeah. So shalchu lele Rabbi Yehuda ben Metirah, shelam lecha Rabbi Yehuda ben Metirah, de'at bin tzivin umtzedecha prusa b'Yerushalayim. They said you are sitting in Nitzivim, but your trap is already trapped already in Yerushalayim. Meaning we got him. Yeah, that's what he said. Rav Kahana chalash. Rav Kahana was weak, right? He became sick. So shadura Rabbanan Rav Yoshua bered Ravidi. So they sent Rav Yoshua, the son of Ravidi, to visit Rav Kahana. And they went and they said, Zil bedok, my dineh, right? Go check what's the halacha, right? Meaning what's going on with him. Yeah, how is he? So they went and they found that he was niftar. So karele vushe. So he tore his clothing because of avelut. But then he went and he turned it around. So that way the rabbis would not realize that he actually was niftar. Right? Why? Because if they realize right away, it could be that it's a shock to them. So it's not good. Right? It's never good to shock anyone. So he was crying and coming on his way. Right? So when they saw that he was crying so much, Amrule, they said, Nach nafshe, did he pass away? Amar lehu, he said, Ana lo kamina. Right? I didn't say that. Umotzi dibau kasil. Because any person that comes and says a bad saying, like a bad shemwara, how do you say, bad notices or bad news, he's like a ksil, it's not good. So because of that, right, that's why he didn't want to actually say that he passed away. He was just crying and they understood on their own, right? They didn't have to say anything else. Another case, Yochanan Chakuka, what is this? It's a kinui for his name, right? Nafak lekiyata, he went out to the kfarim to check the grains. Kiyata, when he came, Amrule, they said, Chitin na'asu yafot. He said, what? The chitin, right? They became nice. That means basically he didn't want to say, right? He didn't want to say that they're not nice, right? So Amar lehem, he told them, Seorim na'asu yafot. The barley became nice. Yeah, he shifted to the other one. So they understood. Amrule, they said, Tzeu vasel susim el right? Go and tell the susim chamorim. She said, what are you telling us now about the seorim? Seorim barley is food for animals. So that if the barley became good, go tell the animals. What are you telling us for that? You understand? Right? So the Gemara says, what was he going to say? So he said, yeah, we were very funny. What do you think? Always the rabbis are funny. So he says, Eshtakad, he said, V'shana shavra, Eshtakad means shana shavra always. Remember that, yeah? Eshtakad, shana shavra, na'asu chitin yafot. He should have said last year they were good. So the fact they're saying last year were good, obviously this year, right? How was the year 2020? Well, 2019 was good. Yeah, all the rest, leave it for them. Like Inami, if you want, you can answer, Adashim na'asu yafot. The lentils were good. Why? Because the lentils at least is food for human beings. So that he could have said, but not to say the other way around. And we continue Bezrat Hashem tomorrow.